The vibes much better on the third edition of the Weekly Burn. The Orleans Firebirds have won 4 of their last 5 games, and your broadcasters, Ian Nicholas, Dylan Pescatore, here to take you through the most recent stretch for Orleans. Dylan, beginning of the week wasn't great. 12-2 loss to Harwich, 4-1 loss to YD. The losing streak went up to 5 games. Those early season issues were still following this team.
Yeah, and it was all about the offense and the lineup that wasn't hitting with runners in scoring position. They had a strikeout problem. They weren't making enough contact, and that's what did them in and started out that skid.
Started that skid, but then hit the road, played Falmouth, and everything changed. Tight 5-4 win over the Commodores, and then Hoodle Series against Brewster, a close 4-2 win on the road, and then an absolute curb stomping 13-2 in 6.5 innings. What changed?
Well, I'll tell you this, the pitching did not, because the pitching's been great all the entire season. So what changed was the offense was getting timely hits. They were getting on base more. They weren't striking out as much, and I think it kind of stemmed from the 9th inning against YD. A lot of the losses earlier in the season were blowouts, or it didn't really feel like the team was going to come back, and the score wasn't really representative of what really happened. But the YD game, the offense played really well. They left a lot of guys on base, and it came down to the last batter where Jake Casey was up with 2 runners on and had a potential to tie the game. The next day, they finally got the job done against Falmouth.
So out of all of the pitching performances over the last week, maybe in that 3-game win streak specifically, which one was the most impressive to you?
It's a good question.
I'm making you think, putting you on the spot.
I'm going to say Dylan Jacobs against Falmouth, because it's never easy when you're on a skid, no matter if you're a pitcher, you're a hitter, you're the bench coach, you're a bullpen catcher, doesn't matter. If you're part of the team, it's a 5-game skid, no one's happy.
No.
But Dylan Jacobs, who came in, he threw 4-5 really good innings against Falmouth. Even though the team scored 2 in the first inning, he gave it back, but then he really locked in and got a lot of swing and miss with his stuff and gave his team a chance to win, which they did.
Somebody who was swinging and missing a little bit early on in the year, Andy Blake, turned after that Falmouth game into a beast in that Brewster series. He went 6 for 9 against the Whitecaps. Looked a lot more like the player who was the Ivy League Player of the Year headed to Duke next season.
Yeah, I think they're going to start calling Andy the Whitecap Killer
Oh,
because
no.
he was so good against Brewster. But it wasn't that Andy was taking bad swings. It was that he was getting unlucky. We saw the stats that his expected batting average was upwards of 360 even before he got hot. So he was hitting the ball hard, but just right at the fielders, right at the outfielder, infielder, whatever it may be. But once things started to break his way, Andy Blake has been really good ever since.
Hitting cleanup now, whether he's at short, third, DHing, Andy Blake, really good player right now for Orleans. Then a bit of a setback after that big win at home against Brewster, 13-2. You go on the road, you play Harwich, one of the best teams in the league. You played them close, had an opportunity late, but you lose 2-1.
Yeah, and it doesn't even feel like a bad loss because of how they lost earlier in the season. It was a loss that, things like that happen. Baseball happens. You're going to lose, you're going to win. They lost 2-1. It was great pitching on both sides. You move on, and I'm really happy how they moved on and kind of, didn't put it behind them, but put it behind them and learned a lot from it.
Supposed to play Hyannis, and then that game got rained out. So then you move on, you play YD, best team in the East, on the road at a very interesting venue in Red Wilson Field, in a very interesting game. So much to compact, so much to talk about. What's the one thing that stands out to you about what's probably the most impressive win of the year for this team?
Well, before the game, Ian, we always prep each team. We see what they're good at, what they're not good at.
Yeah.
And YD's offense was objectively the best offense in the Cape Cod Baseball League. And the pitching for the Firebirds said, okay, cool, we don't really care. Jake Peppers was great. 4 innings, 1 run on a Hunter Hines home run. It was 7 pitchers, I believe, for the Firebirds. Fry, Carter, Loomis, Carry-On, Eaton, and then Matson. Everyone did their job. Everyone brought some type of energy and impact to the table. And the pitching, which has been great all season, I shouldn't be surprised by it. But once again, I'm proud, and I just see the pitching just take another step as a group.
Jake Peppers with another great start, 4 innings, 1 earned. Riley Fry gets a couple big outs. Grayson Carter looks fantastic again with a big strikeout of his former collegiate teammate. That was fun. Danny Carry-On, Connor Eaton, and then one player who has stood out all week. Sammy got him for an interview because not one, not two, but 3 saves for Sean Matson back-to-back in the middle of the week, and then comes in and gets 5 outs against YD to close the game. Sean Matson is our second Bird Baller Player of the Week. Why?
Because he comes in, and I say it on the broadcast, he's a magician.
Houdini.
He's Houdini. I mean, what can you say? It was Falmouth and the first Brewster game that he came in and got the saves, and it was first and second, nobody out against Falmouth. He didn't do that one to himself, but he did the Brewster one to himself. It was a walk and hit by pitch, I believe. He got out of that as well, got the save. And then the game against YD where he comes in the 9th, gets 2 outs, and then it's bottom 10. He gets spotted a run because the automatic runner and the Firebirds got Trimble to the plate.
Yeah.
He comes in and he's facing 2-3-4 in the best offense in Cape Cod Baseball League right now, and he says, good afternoon, good morning, good night, 3 strikeouts.
In the first one of Hunter Hines, who had 2 home runs and leads the league in home runs.
Ian,
pretty crazy.
We were thinking about thinking that Kelly Nicholson was going to intentionally walk him in the 10th inning.
Yeah.
Because you don't want the guy to beat you 3 times. Sean Matson made sure, without walking him, he wasn't going to beat them 3 times.
Sean Matson, 3 saves on the week, and that's why he's the Birds Baller Player of the Week, and that's why Sammy caught up with him after his latest save.
I'm now joined by the Harvard pitcher, Sean Matson. Sean, what are you feeling right now after this incredible win?
Feeling good. It was a great win. You know, we got up in the 9th, or in the 10th actually, in extras. It's the first time we've had to deal with that, so it's good that the team handled it well and came out with a win.
And you came in to the 9th. Emotions were high, and then you forced it to be a 10-inning game. So how are you feeling on the mound?
I was feeling pretty good. Arm felt better than it has in a few days, so just kind of riding that. And I knew the defense was behind me, and a lot of good guys out there. So.
And during this entire time in Orleans, you haven't allowed a hit or a run. So what type of pitches do you think have been working for you lately?
Right now it's the slider, and then fastball's been working well. Changeup's been on a little bit. I mean, the catchers are calling great games, so I'm just going with what they're putting down, and it's working out.
And you also came in as the closer for Falmouth and also Brewster. So how does it feel to really know that you have the trust of your coaching staff?
It feels great. I mean, as soon as they called me over and said, hey, we're going to use you on the back end, it was a little bit uplifting and felt really good. So it's nice to know that they trust me and the guys trust me too.
And take me through the emotion of all the guys rushing to the mound after the win. How did it feel?
There's nothing better. There's nothing better.
And big news, you won the Birds Baller of the Game this week. So how does it feel to get that honor?
It's a pretty heavy honor, so I'm pretty happy about it. That's awesome. Didn't even know until now, so that's great.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. Congrats. Go celebrate with the guys.
Thanks, Sammy. Sean Matson. You know, the interesting thing, Dylan, we talked to his parents after the game. He doesn't come out of a bullpen, really, at Harvard. He's not really in these late game, high leverage situations often. His parents are stressing. He's not. 5 appearances, nearly 7 innings pitched, 7 strikeouts, 1 walk, no runs. Nothing phases the guy.
No, nothing does. And we talked, of course, as you said, with their parents. He even said to us after the Falmouth game on our cooling down post-game show that he wasn't nervous. We were more nervous about the game than he was, which is shocking because he had to deal with some of the top hitters in the league, first and second, and nobody out in multiple situations, and he gets out of it. I mean, the guy is, I say, a magician. He's cool as a cucumber.
It's funny because I think he just told Sammy and he told us after the Falmouth game, I'm not sleeping tonight. He's doing it on no sleep. Sean, you're crazy, man. But you're also our Birds Baller Player of the Week, our second of the season. First, Daniel Avidia, the pitcher. Now, another one, this time the closer, Sean Matson. But going from the pitching to the plate, Joe Oyama. I mean, you lose Austin Overn, the leadoff center field star, to Team USA training camp. You have a big hole to fill? Not quite. I mean, it's a big hole, but Joe Oyama, last week, he's hitting .435. He's an on-base machine.
Not only that, but he's hitting for power as well. And you look at the guy, and 5'5", 5'6", wherever you want to call it, and he doesn't seem like a guy who's going to put the ball over the fence. And he hasn't yet, but a double and 3 triples.
Crazy.
The speed that he brings, but he brings so much to the table with not just his hitting, his speed, and his defense as well. They say 5-tool player, whatever. The guy brings so many intangibles to the game that you can't measure.
He is just a guy this team is rallied around, fun personality. plays the game the right way, and leads the entire league in triples because he's just like Speedy McGee out there. He's fantastic. He fits right in at second, leading off. We talked a little bit about Andy Blake. He's been awesome too over the last week. 364, 8 hits, a double, couple runs driven in. But one guy who at the bottom of the order stepped up is Drew Farrow. He's third on the team in batting average over the last week.
Yeah, and I think for Drew, we really haven't seen to his full potential yet.
No.
I think we're still waiting for that big shot where he gets it on the barrel and it's over the fence in a matter of 2 to 3 seconds. Because we know how much power the guy has. We've seen him in batting practice and his warm-ups and everything, where he can put the ball over the fence with the best of anybody, right? You talk about Hunter Hines or Charlie Condon over Falmouth. Like, he has that type of power. He hasn't gotten to it just yet, but he's also started to hit for average, and his at-bats have gotten so much better as well, especially in negative counts.
Well, somebody whose at-bats are always going to be good, Eddie Micheletti. I mean, he's been consistent all year long. Drew coming on as of late. Eddie, I know the temp, the permanent player thing, who knows? It doesn't really mean a whole lot. I know Eddie's got a good shot to potentially make it to the next level next month to the MLB. I hope Eddie Micheletti stays around a little while because every game the guy delivers.
Selfishly, yes, and his at-bats are great. He's also making a lot of strides in the outfield defensively. But what he brings to the table is that knockout punch. And I think every team, you're built around a few things. You need speed, you need contact, you need good defense, but you also need a few guys to put the ball over the fence. Eddie Micheletti brings a lot of that and the power punch where he can deliver the KO to a team, and he did it to Brewster in the 13-2 win, a 3-run home run in that 8-run 6th inning.
The craziest inning of the season, not necessarily from a competitive standpoint, but just from a we're having fun, this is the baseball the Firebirds want to be playing when the season is over. Exactly what the offense needed. So as we wrap up here on the Weekly Burn, after a week where the Firebirds bounced back from a 2-4 start, 4-3 since, 6-7 overall, right in the middle of the pack of the East Division. Over this next week, what are you most looking forward to?
I just want to see him continue to play. I think they're getting better every single day, and I think the team's really coming together. Now, I look at this team, and they had a really good week, right? So they had the 3-game win streak, and they just beat YD, the top team in the East. But I feel like there's so much more that really hasn't been untapped or just hasn't been unlocked yet. That's the word I'll use. I mean, there's so much potential in what Eddie King and Jake Casey, when he really gets going. Jake Hyde as well, and then Carpellotti had a hit against YD as well, an RBI single. So him, Johnny Olmstead too. There are so many guys who are producing, other guys who are bringing their impact in different ways, but once they get going at the plate, this team's going to be one that's hard to stop.
Quickly, pick the click for the week. Who is it?
Pick the click for the week. I'm taking Jake Hyde. I think he had a great game against YD. I think he's set up for another great week, and I think he's going to start really getting his timing down, and who knows, maybe put a few over the wall too.
Connecticut native, Fairfield County. Can't knock him. Jake Hyde. All right, the new week set to begin for Orleans. It starts on the road in Catuit against a West Division foe that's really, really good. And it's a 5 o'clock start. Make sure to tune in tonight, 4:45 on the Birds Broadcast Network. You can find us on the Orleans Firebirds YouTube channel. We hope to see you there. For Dylan Pescatore, Sammy Miller, I'm Ian Nicholas. Enjoy more Firebirds baseball. We'll see you in a week with another edition of the Weekly Burn.